All right, everybody, welcome back. We got more tight ends to look at. Let's just jump right in here with Jaheim Bell, a guy that I remember looking at quite a bit before the season started. A guy who I was very interested to see this season for Florida State, the Seminoles, and I don't know, left me wanting a little bit for sure. 23 years old when the season starts, 6'2", 241 pounds. So right off the bat, undersized. 6'2" is potentially, not necessarily, but potentially disqualifying. That's tough to overcome. 241 pounds, light. He does have 33-inch arms and 10-inch hands, though, so his appendages are correctly sized. But this stuff, I don't know. That might be a wide receiver convert almost. That's difficult. He's going to have to do some crazy stuff to overcome that. And in his defense, he tested well. 4.61 40, 88th percentile. 1.58 10-yard split was 87th percentile. Now, I would argue that he's got to do better than that if he's going to be at this size, but it's still good. The vertical was good, 35 inches. The broad was really good, 10 foot 4 inches. So the testing numbers were good, but is it enough to overcome his lack of size compared to pretty much every other tight end in this class? Most of the big boards have him in the fourth or fifth round. There were a couple that still have him in the third. The Draft Network and Walter Football had him in the third. The aggregate has him in the fourth, late-ish fourth, which I could see that. But I don't know. I cannot help but look at Jaheim Bell and be disappointed. He played 13 games for FSU last year, averaged 3 catches a game, playing with a really good quarterback in Jordan Travis. And, I mean, they have Keon Coleman, right? It's not like Florida State doesn't have other good receivers, but it's not like he's playing for Washington and he's got to compete with Romo Dunze and Jalen McMillan and Jalen Polk for catches. It's not like that. He should do better than this. 500 yards in 13 games. I expect more. The previous year, by the way, interesting here, he only averaged about 2 catches a game, very unproductive as a receiver, but he was basically being used as a running back. So there could be some fun versatility you have with Jaheim Bell. Ran the ball for 261 yards, which was more than his receiving yards in 2022. So I guess that's fun. I don't know how much of that's going to translate to the NFL, though. So what I can say about Jaheim Bell is he gives maximum efforts at all times on the field. He's everything that he's capable of doing, he does. Fights hard. He's good at making catches in contested situations, much more so than you would expect an undersized tight end to be able to do. The versatility is appealing. He can line up in line. He can line up in the slot, lines up in the backfield. He's a good athlete. Like these testing numbers do show up on the field. Has some backfield ability, like I said. So there is some fun stuff here. But I wonder if that fun stuff is the only stuff that's going to be able to go through here because he's so small. He might not be able to play tight end in the NFL. He's not a very good route runner. He needs to refine his blocking. I think the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Or excuse me, I shouldn't even say that. Like the spirit is willing, but it's not even the flesh is weak so much as the flesh is just unpolished. So he's going to have to get better there. And he drops a lot of passes. Like I know he's out there trying, but he does drop a lot of passes for a guy with big hands. So there's a lot here that makes you wonder, is this guy just going to be like an H-back? Is he going to be a special teamer? Is he going to be like a gadget player? I don't know, but I kind of feel like he's not going to be an every down tight end. So he'll probably find a role in the NFL because he's a good athlete. I just don't know where. He's going to have to find a creative coaching staff willing to work through his shortcomings. I personally would say 6th round or later. I'm not really feeling this one anymore. The measurements at the combine just kind of completely lost me. And I know that you don't want to put too much into that, but there are some problems on the field as well. He's not a very good route runner and he drops passes. Next guy that I want to look at here would be Jared Wiley of TCU. This is a guy who's really turned some heads lately. Throughout the season, he was productive and kind of came on strong at the end, I feel like. And there's some definite intrigue here. 23 years old, 6'6", 249 pounds, so he's got that tight end size. 33.25-inch arms, very nice, very workable. 9.5-inch hands. 40 time was good, 4.62. 10-yard split was okay, 1.62. He jumped nicely, 88 percentile vert, 37 inches. Pretty decent broad jump. Three cone left something to be desired, 719. So there is some concern about his quick twitch ability, his ability to change direction in space. But some good stuff here for sure. The big boards are a little all over. ESPN and CBS have him in like the 5th round. PFF has him going undrafted. The aggregate has him going in the 5th. I think that's a reasonable expectation at this point. 2023 was his breakout year. In 12 games, he averaged about 4 catches a game, 520 yards, 8 touchdowns. So kind of a red zone threat. Not a big play threat necessarily in terms of result, but intriguing player. He's got great size, knows how to use it really well, knows how to use his body in contested catch situations, utilized as an inline tight end and a slot receiver, so that makes life hard for opposing defenses when they have to deal with all that. He's got enough speed to be difficult to cover, especially at his size. He's somebody that's hard to cover if you're a linebacker because he's faster than you, but he's also hard to cover if you're a defensive back because he's bigger than you. He's very explosive, gets out of his stance and explodes to top speed very quickly. He's a really good route runner. He's got great ball skills, great blocking technique. He's smart. He's got a high football IQ, understands how to sit down in the holes in zone pretty well, has great technique. Oh, I don't know why I wrote that twice. My bad. I'm sorry about that. I wrote the same point out twice. He needs to get a little bit stronger, I feel like, to become a great blocker. I think he does leave a little bit to be desired in like his lower body strength, and that causes him to get bullied a bit. But his technique as a blocker will allow him to become a really good one. I think his technique as a pass catcher also needs to be improved a little bit. I think that some of his... he is a good route runner, but I do think there is some improvement he needs to make there. And he goes down too easy. He goes down at first contact a lot, so he doesn't get a lot of yards after the catch. So I think there's a really fun foundation here. He's got a great understanding of blocking, and he's also explosive. So this could be another guy who develops into an all-around tight end, somebody who provides a threat in the passing attack and also a capable blocker, maybe even better than a capable blocker. So honestly, if he's in the late 4th round and the Seahawks are picking around there, I'm not against it. I'm not against reaching a little bit more beyond what the mock draft database has on him, because I think that he's going to develop quickly if he can add a little bit of functional strength into an all-around really fun tight end prospect. All right, next guy we're going to look at in this video will be Brevyn Spann-Ford of Minnesota. This is another guy I remember being pretty hyped on before the season started. Sorry to say that hype didn't really manifest as much. This is another guy who just kind of fell short. Minnesota Golden Gopher, 24 years old when the season starts. He's big. He's got the size, 6'6.5", 260 pounds, 33 3/8 inch arms, 10 1/4 inch hands. So the measurables are definitely there for him to be an intriguing NFL level player. The testing was bad, but that's a little more forgivable because he's so big. 4'7", 40, 1'6", 10 yard split, 31.5 inch vert, 9 foot 8 inch broad. I mean, that's good, but the 3 cone is really bad. So the guy is slow. The guy accelerates slowly. The guy is not explosive. The guy doesn't change direction very well. The guy is going to struggle to get open against man defense in all likely, man coverage. So you get what you get. He's a bigger guy who is slower. That's what you would typically expect, right? So he's just another one of these bigger tight ends that sacrifices a lot in the playmaking ability. So the big boards, Walter Football loves him and puts him in the top 100, 91st. CBS and PFF have him going undrafted. ESPN has him in the 4th. The aggregate has him in the 5th round area. Last year was a big disappointment for him. He played in 12 games and only averaged about 2 catches a game and had 2 touchdowns all season. And he was not a big-time playmaker with those catches either. He averaged less than 10 yards a catch. The year before, he was actually much better. 13 games, 42 catches, 500 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But 2023 needed to be a breakout year for him, and it wasn't. So the measurables are there. You put him in the slot, he's hard to handle, right? You put Brevyn Spann-Ford in the slot, other teams don't really know what to do because they're like, he's got like 7 inches on our slot receiver. I mean, our slot corner. He's got 8 inches on our slot corner. What do we do? Do we put a linebacker out there? I mean, yeah, but does that compromise your run defense? Like, it's tough to deal with a guy this big lining up in the slot, which he did a lot at Minnesota. He's got a pretty good feel for running routes. I think that he's able to maximize his limited physical skill set into a pretty good route runner. His technique as a blocker is pretty solid as well, and because he's so big, he'll probably become a deadly red zone threat alongside, a guy in the same way that a Colby Parkinson is. But he does drop a lot of passes, which is concerning because his ability to be a reliable pass catcher is going to be very important to him. He's not a good athlete. He didn't produce very much in college. He does struggle to separate from man coverage, like I said. He's awkward in how he moves. You watch him move, and it just doesn't look smooth. And while he is big, he needs to improve his play strength so he can actually become a great blocker. Despite everything I just said, I wouldn't consider Spann-Ford to be a great blocker yet. I think that he will probably become one, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And is that something you're willing to put up with when the upside, other than that, is so low? I obviously the size is appealing, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done just to get him to an NFL level. I think that him being so unproductive in 2023 is very concerning, given the fact that he has a massive physical advantage against almost every defender he plays. So, I don't know. I'm pretty off this one. I'm not really going to be looking at this guy too much until the 7th round. It's like Colby Parkinson if Colby Parkinson had bad hands or something, right? And a Colby Parkinson with bad hands, what do you have there? You have a big guy. And that's kind of what this guy is. He's a big guy. There's some upside, but I don't think that's enough for me to spend a pick on until the 7th or so. All right, so that's it for this video. More tight end stuff coming soon. Hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. We're going to move on deeper and deeper into this tight end draft, but let me know what you think about these three guys. I wasn't too high on 2 of these 3, right? I wasn't too high on Spann-Ford, wasn't too high on Bell. If you have a different perspective, let me know. See you guys in a couple hours. Go Hawks.